As we mark 11 years since the Marikana Massacre, the surviving miners are continuing with their civil cases against President Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, at the time of the tragedy, Ramaphosa was a non-executive director at Lonmin's platinum mines. 34 miners were gunned down by police during a strike on the 16th of August, on this day in 2012. Let's unpack this further. We're joined this morning by Andries Nkome, who is the attorney representing the miners who survived the Marikana Massacre. Andries, it's good to talk to you. You and I have been having this conversation for many, many years now, as year after year we mark the anniversary, and year after year the hurt still feels as raw today as it did now 11 years ago.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. I think as time goes by, our clients start to lose hope in the fact that those that they believe caused the massacre will apologize. And it's for that reason that they become steadfast in their belief that the courts is the only forums, the last forums of hope out of which they'll be able to get apologies given. I say this in relation to the fact that they say the massacre took place as a result of the characterization of their labor dispute with Lonmin by the then Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, when he said that their acts were dastardly criminal and the police must act with committed action. So he went on and gave an apology, though it was veiled. It was not unconditional. So it's for that reason that they're saying they're pushing forward, will be able someday in the future to get justice.
Let's talk about what justice looks like, Andries, for the surviving miners who lost their colleagues, their friends, some family members on that day.
Look, the first and most important is this apology that has been proving elusive for the past 11 years. The second is the part in relation to compensation, because it is that we will try to get them to be almost in the condition that they were prior to the massacre happening. And thirdly, it's a criminal liability, because we have seen very little being done in relation to criminal liability on the part of the police. We've only seen the prosecution of Mr. Nkome. That is a matter that related to an event that took place on the 13th of August in 2012, which is prior to the massacre happening. We are saying there were those that were seen on live TV shooting at people that are yet to be prosecuted. That is the police that pulled the trigger. But over and above this, there is political and commercial liability that took place. There's people that were behind the scenes at the political level coercing and making sure that this massacre happens. And we are glad that as of today, we've been able to have a judgment that was given by the High Court in Johannesburg, where the court agreed with us that the president should come through and answer for his involvement in the massacre. You would remember that in 2015, when we issued a summons against him, he raised a technical exception, which essentially was meant to make sure that our claims do not proceed. But the court dismissed those exceptions and agreed with us that he must come and answer. So the day for him to be brought to court, for him to be cross-examined, is fast approaching. We're just waiting for dates.
Yeah, I mean, 11 years later, this is a blight on a democratic South Africa. It's the most lethal use of force by police in South Africa since post-1994. And yet, on a day like today, Andries, do you feel that, despite this mark against our democracy, that there is silence from large parts of society, from many of the people in leadership and even in government, given the shame around what happened on this day in 2012?
Indeed so, yes. It's been 11 years on. We know the basic tenet of the law that says that justice delayed is justice denied. 11 years is just too long. We spoke to IPIT, and they said that, look, they blame what transpired to the National Prosecuting Authority, because they decided only now to go and put the dockets in the hands of somebody that is quite new on the matter. So we'd expect that quite considerable time would go through without that person even understanding what goes through into the docket. If they do get that chance, it will be many, many years later. So we are saying we need to see justice happening. Judge Falam made recommendations. We see none of those being implemented. So therefore, it looks as if you happen to be poor, if you happen to be unemployed in the position of our clients, you are going to be treated, and acting against government, you're going to be treated very unfairly. So it is that our clients are concerned about. But be that as it may, their attitude now is that it has taken them so long to get here. So it will not really matter for them to go on and fight on this for the next 11 years.
Would you say, Andries, given the people that you represent, knowing their stories of loss so intimately, the violent ways in which they lost loved ones on this day in 2012, that closure is something they can't even consider until all of the issues, the outstanding issues that you've outlined to us, until they are resolved?
Look, if I may give a context, prior to the 16th of August, the week prior, our clients all went on strike simply because they were paid meager salaries by Lonmin at the time, 3,500 per mine worker, despite the fact that you would have been employed for a month or 23 years. Now, they went on and the labor disputes ensued. As a result, we saw police shooting and killing people, and 279 of the very same people that were on strike were arrested for the murder of their very own brothers that they went to a labor dispute with. So the least that they can expect, the least that they hope for, is an apology. And simply because we have seen them being charges withdrawn, the matters proceeding in the North West High Court, and now currently the charges have been withdrawn. So it will only be sensible for them to say, for us to have closure, let's get to a point where, one, we either get an unconditional apology from the president, or we get the court to order him to apologize. It's not just the president, but also Sibanye, simply because it was brought over Lonmin at the time that this massacre took place.
So that's the least of what they hope for. On the other side of the spectrum, ideally, what are their hopes?
Look, again, you would also hope that there would be compensation. We also hope that much more steps could be taken to ensure that those that were seen on TV killing people would be criminally held liable. But again, we also go to say that the massacre took place as a result of the characterization, the pressure that was put on by the ground forces, by political and commercial head honchos. We would like them also to be brought to book.
So that, Andries, today is not just another commemoration day where we focus on Marikana and the issues there on the 16th of August, as we've done every year since 2012.
Look, it's not just every year. In actual fact, I think every year around about this time, you'd find government coming out to say this is the developments which have been made. And I think I need to state it now that we at least have been able to gather about 90% of the compensation claims simply because of the assistance of the Judge President as well as the Deputy Judge President Ledwaba, where he then allowed us to have priority dates for those matters to be dealt with. We're looking at settling the balance very soon. And we're also, again, going to be approaching the courts to say, we would like the matter against the President Cyril Ramaphosa as well as Lonmin to be declared a commercial matter so that it should also be given a priority date. And we hope that that matter will be in front of the courts in the next 6 months.
So you're saying not just the unconditional apology that you're hoping for, but a commercial matter as well? What would that mean? You'd
remember that we are claiming compensation from the president as well as from Sibanye in their personal capacities. And that is yet to be ventilated. So the case in the Joburg High Court is one, for an apology, but second, for personal compensation.
Andries Nkome, let me thank you yet again for your time this morning. He is the attorney representing the Marikana Massacre survivors as we track this story this morning on the 11th anniversary of the massacre happened in 2012. Andries, thanks very much indeed for joining us.